I didn't even get a chance to zip my bag before the classroom door burst open. Two police officers walked in, stern faces scanning the room, all eyes turned toward me. "David?" one asked, already knowing. I stood slowly. "Yes?" "You need to come with us, now." Gasps spread through the class like wildfire. A girl screamed. Someone's phone clicked on to record. I looked around in confusion, until I saw her. Mary. She stood just outside the doorway, framed like a character in a play. Her eyes were red, tears running freely down her face. She clutched her blouse as if it had just been torn, trembling with manufactured fear. "It was him," she whispered hoarsely. "David, he assaulted me. He threatened to kill my family if I told anyone." The world went silent, then shattered. The officer grabbed my arm, twisting it behind my back as metal cuffs locked around my wrists. "No, wait," I started. "Stay calm, kid," the officer muttered, already dragging me past the desks. "Wait, this has to be a mistake," my voice cracked. "Mary, tell them the truth. You know I would never." "She's lying," a classmate shouted, but no one else spoke up. The hallway was packed. News had spread like blood in water. Phones hovered in the air. Students murmured in disbelief, and somewhere, someone said, "I always knew he was too quiet, creepy quiet." Then I saw him. George. Leaning casually against the wall, arms folded, smirking. His school jacket was spotless. He didn't say a word, but his eyes said everything. "You lost." I twisted toward Mary, desperation rising. "Tell them the truth. You know it wasn't me. You know it wasn't me." Mary buried her face in her hands and wailed. I was shoved through the school gates, more phones, more cameras, then, wait, a familiar voice, breathless and hoarse, my father. He stumbled through the crowd, dragging his left leg, which hadn't worked right since the construction accident 10 years ago. His apron was still stained from the grilled sausage cart. "Please," he panted, placing himself between me and the squad car. "My son didn't do this. He saved her. He came home that night and told me everything. He was proud. He said he did the right thing." The officers paused. "Sir, please stand back." "I raised him better than this," my father said, his voice cracking. "He would never touch a girl against her will, not my son." Mary sobbed louder. "He's threatening me even now. Stop him. Don't let him hurt me again." The officer pushed my father aside. He fell hard, catching himself with one hand as his cane clattered to the pavement. They forced me into the back seat. Through the window I saw my father trying to get up. He was shaking, angry, crying. George walked past him without a glance. Someone whispered, "Isn't that Mary's boyfriend?" I opened my mouth to scream the truth, to scream that George was the one, that I was the one who helped, that everything was backwards. But the door slammed shut, and silence swallowed me whole. And just like that, the truth died behind sobs and a camera flash. Before everything collapsed, before the handcuffs, the headlines, and the funeral pyre, I was just a kid trying to make it out of our small town with enough pride left to smile. My dad and I ran a grilled sausage cart every evening outside the train station. It wasn't glamorous. The air always smelled like exhaust, the floor was stained with grease, and the sausages popped angrily in their trays, sizzling beside old posters for tutoring services and lost cats. But it was ours. My father had only one leg. He'd lost the other saving a stranger's child from falling debris at a construction site. He'd never taken compensation, never complained, never remarried after Mom died giving birth to me. Every day, he'd limp to the cart, set up the grill with trembling hands, and greet every customer with a smile that had weathered more hardship than most could imagine. And I studied. I studied so hard it made his sacrifice worth something. I was the top student in my class. Peking University had already sent me a conditional admission letter. He kept it folded in his wallet, pulled it out every time a customer asked, "That your boy working so hard again?" "He's going to make it," Dad would say. "He'll get out of here. He'll do better." I used to believe that. Back then, Mary was just a girl from art class who always walked home alone. She had this air about her, famous in school for her looks, her dramatic flair, and the way she always seemed one step away from tears or applause. I didn't know her well, just enough to nod when we crossed paths. That night, I took the shortcut through the woods behind school. I heard her before I saw her, screaming, pleading. "Stop! Let go of me! Somebody, please help!" I didn't hesitate. I sprinted toward the sound, heart pounding, and saw a figure hunched over her, pants undone, snarling something I couldn't hear. I didn't think, I just acted. I grabbed a rock and slammed it into the guy's shoulder. He cursed, turned, and I saw his face under the flickering streetlight. George. He looked right at me, smiled, even as he ran. David from class 1, he said, not even out of breath. You're going to regret this. I covered Mary with my school shirt. She clung to me, sobbing into my shoulder. It's okay, I whispered. You're safe, I'm here now. We called the police. She gave a vague statement, said it was dark, couldn't identify the guy. I stayed up half the night writing a report, proud of what I'd done. At home, Dad clapped me on the back. You did right, even if it costs you. Right is right. I smiled. I believed him. But the next day, she came with the police. This is the boy, Mary said, pointing straight at me in front of the entire school. He's the one who assaulted me. I froze. What? Her tears were even more convincing this time. He said if I told anyone, he'd kill my whole family. He forced me to lie yesterday. I was scared. Mary. I saved you, I whispered, shaking. She looked at me like I was the monster. You're disgusting. I was dragged away, expelled, my admission to Peking University revoked. The internet turned on me, rumors, memes, my face posted online with captions like beast in uniform and top student or predator. My father. He wrote letters, begged every official he could find. When none listened, he did the unthinkable. He went to Mary's house, fell to his knees, and slit his own wrist. He wrote "My son is innocent" on her doorstep. He died alone. I didn't cry at the funeral, I couldn't. After 6 months of living like a ghost, I saw them, Mary and George, walking hand in hand outside a shopping center, laughing like nothing had happened. I ran up to them, trembling with rage. Why? I shouted. Why did you destroy me? Mary didn't even blink. Because George told me to, and because you were weak, you were easy. George grinned. You should have stayed down, David. He shoved me. The screech of tires, a blinding light, then cold pavement. Silence. I thought it was the end, but when I opened my eyes, I was staring at a wall covered in math formulas and motivational quotes. My backpack was still on my shoulders. Outside, a car honked. I looked out the window. Mary was walking toward the school gate, the same outfit, the same time. My heart froze. This was the day before everything went wrong. I checked my phone, the date matched. I was back. Back before the assault, before the betrayal. I could barely breathe. My hands trembled as I ran to the sausage cart where Dad was just setting up. He looked up, surprised. David, you're out early? I threw my arms around him. Whoa, he laughed awkwardly. You okay? I just wanted to help you today. He nodded, touched but confused. All right then, let's work. I handed out napkins, grilled sausages, wiped the cart with shaky hands. I watched every move he made, his limp, the way he counted change, the way he smiled at rude customers. I hadn't seen any of it before, not really. That night, after we packed up, I stared at him long after he fell asleep. I made a vow under my breath. This time, I won't lose everything. I avoided her completely the next day. No shortcuts through the woods, no wandering halls alone. I didn't even glance her way in the corridor. Mary didn't matter anymore, not in this timeline, not in this life. But she noticed. She noticed the silence, the indifference, the way I didn't flinch when she walked past. During lunch, I sat by the window in the far corner of the cafeteria. Sarah, who usually kept to herself, nodded at me from 2 tables away. We weren't friends, but after everything, I knew who would help and who would stay quiet. Mary stood near the lunch line, arms folded, her eyes sharp and calculating. She was used to boys tripping over themselves to hold her tray, to walk her to class, to stare at her like she was a goddess made of porcelain and perfume. Now she was invisible to me. And it burned her. She waited until the crowd was thickest, after the final bell rang and the hallway swelled with students gathering bags and gossiping about mock exams. I walked down the stairs calmly, earbuds in, hood up, recorder in my pocket turned on. That's when it happened. She stormed across the hall and slapped the books out of my hands. The sound echoed louder than the chatter. A few students gasped, some pulled out their phones. You think ignoring me makes you better than me? She snapped. Who do you think you are? I bent down, slowly picking up my books without a word. Answer me, she shouted. I stood up, looked her dead in the eyes. Leave me alone. Why were you standing outside the art room yesterday? I was passing by. Don't lie, you're stalking me. I don't even look in your direction. Then why did you follow me to the school store, to the courtyard? You were watching me. You're imagining things, I said, voice calm. Go talk to the school counselor. Mary's voice turned shrill. I'm reporting you for harassment. The crowd began murmuring, but it wasn't the same as last time. Someone muttered, wait, hasn't he been avoiding her? I haven't seen them talk in days. I thought she was into George now. She realized the tide wasn't automatically turning in her favor, so she did what she did best, she escalated. She lunged and slapped me across the face. The crack of it was loud. I didn't react, just stared at her. Someone filmed it. I saw the phone in their hand, still recording. See that? She shouted to the hallway. He's threatening me, he's obsessed with me, this is what he's been doing for weeks. I turned my recorder off and put it in my pocket. Then call the police, I said. What? You're accusing me of stalking, that's a criminal offense. If you're serious, call the police, file a report, have me arrested right here. She faltered. I turned to leave, but that's when George stepped in. He'd been leaning near the lockers, watching like a predator waiting for a signal. He walked forward, slipped his arm around Mary's shoulders like he was some white knight. Are you okay, babe? He asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. Did this loser touch you again? Mary clung to him instantly, shifting into the trembling victim like it was second nature. He's scaring me. George glared at me, voice booming. Didn't they teach you how to take a hint? She's mine now, keep your distance. I was never near her, I said quietly. She said you were. And where's your proof? I asked. George smirked. Don't need proof. She's the victim, you're the creep. He snapped his fingers. The crowd split like water. 2 police officers stepped in through the gate. I didn't recognize them this time. New faces. David, one said. We need to speak with you. Mary clung to George tighter. He followed me home last night, stood outside my building. My neighbors saw him. He's obsessed with me, and he threatened me again today in front of the school. That's not true, someone said quietly from the back. It was Sarah. She's lying, she said, louder this time. David's been avoiding her. Everyone knows it. The police turned to Sarah. Do you have proof? Sarah nodded. I've been in 3 classes with them. He doesn't even talk to her. And I have the group chat screenshots. Everyone's seen Mary trying to provoke him all week. My fingers clenched inside my pocket. I hadn't expected anyone to speak up yet. One officer looked uncertain. The other gestured to me. We still need you to come with us, just to clarify some things. I nodded. Okay, but I have recordings, from the past few days, conversations, insults, witnesses. Would you like them now or at the station? The officers exchanged a look. Mary's face was paling. George stepped in. Don't believe a word he says. He's manipulating the narrative like he did last time. The older officer squinted at him. You said he followed her home? Yes. Do you live near her? No, I live, across town. Then how would you know? I was with her on the phone. Do you have a call log? George stiffened. I deleted it. Mary stepped forward, trying to redirect. He cornered me after school. He grabbed me and said he'd ruin me if I told anyone. The younger officer pulled out a notepad. Did anyone witness this? Her lips parted. No answer. Sarah stepped closer. No one saw it because it didn't happen, but I have her audio from this morning. You were recording? No, she said. She forgot her phone on the desk. It was still recording. George's eyes darted to Mary. Mary lunged towards Sarah. Give me that. Sarah stepped back. I've already backed it up, she said calmly. Mary shrieked. The officers stepped between them. I think we need to continue this at the station, the older officer muttered, nodding toward me. You too, miss. Mary froze. What? Why me? To hear both sides, he said, and review the audio. You're making serious accusations. George hissed. Don't go with them. You'll mess everything up. But she was already trembling. I stood quietly as the officers led us all toward the gate. And this time, I wasn't in handcuffs. This time, I was ready. The walls of my room didn't feel like protection anymore. They felt like proof that even when you came back with a second chance, the weight of your first life still lingered. I sat by the window, lights off, listening to the distant traffic. My phone screen glowed dimly in my hand. I'd written the same caption 10 times but still hadn't posted it. In the end, I just uploaded the raw clip. Mary's voice, sharp, venom-laced, performative. Mine, silent, observing, watching the trap unfold again. I posted it to my private Instagram, captioned it, "If I stay quiet again, I'll die again." No tags, no hashtags, no comments allowed. I didn't care if it went viral. I just needed the truth to exist somewhere other than my own memory. My eyes drifted to the bottom drawer of my desk. I hadn't opened it since waking up in this second life. Slowly, I pulled it out. Inside was the folded note. The one he wrote in blood, the one the police gave back to me after scraping it off Mary's doorstep. My hands trembled as I unfolded it, the paper still stiff, stained dark around the corners. His handwriting was shaky, as if his fingers had refused to obey him, but the words were clear. "My son is not a monster, he saved that girl, if no one else believes him, I do, let this blood prove that." I rested my forehead against it, the pain tightening in my chest until I couldn't breathe. I had watched my father lower himself onto his knees in front of her house, watched him break open the veins in his wrist because no one had listened to his words, and after all that, I hadn't even gotten to say goodbye. In my first life, I lost Peking University, I lost my name, I lost him. And the world never paused. It moved on like I never mattered. I remembered the comment sections, my classmates sharing screenshots of my old texts, twisting them into obsession. Memes of my crying face at the police station. Eon found an old photo of me tying my shoelaces beside Mary's locker and claimed I was sniffing her gym shoes. I was a joke, a predator, a headline. And now, it was happening again. I opened Instagram. That one post had 231 views already. A few DM requests sat in my inbox, most were anonymous. One said, "This you?" Attached was a photo from school, me staring out the window, a heart drawn around my face. Another, "You think deleting your past makes you clean? We remember." And another, "Stay away from Mary or you'll wish you were dead for real." I shut the phone off. The silence felt heavier this time, but it was broken by a soft knock at the door. Sarah stood there, arms wrapped around herself, a flash drive in hand. "I backed up everything," she said. "The recordings, her tantrum, George threatening the officer." I nodded, stepping aside to let her in. She didn't sit. "I've been thinking," she said. "George's family owns 3 blocks downtown. Their donations basically rebuilt the school's auditorium. His uncle's on the school board." "I know," I said. "If you fight this too hard, I could lose everything again." She didn't say yes, but she didn't have to. I sat on the edge of the bed. "He destroyed my life once already, told me he'd remember my face, and he did." "You were just trying to help her," she whispered. "That's what started all this." Sarah knelt to open her bag and pulled out a thin paper folder. "What's that?" I requested a copy of the old CCTV logs from the west entrance, the day she claimed you followed her home. "You're not in a single frame." I blinked. "You're actually marked absent. You left early to help your dad at the stall." I hadn't remembered that. She handed it to me carefully. "They're trying to destroy you with lies, but if you stay quiet, they win." I held the folder like it might collapse in my hands. "Sarah, are you scared?" "Terrified," she admitted, "but not of you." I almost laughed. "Funny. Last time, everyone said I scared them. That's because people don't trust silence. You didn't defend yourself loud enough." I nodded. "I won't make that mistake again." Sarah hesitated at the door. "Do you think you can beat them?" I didn't answer right away. I walked over to my wall, where I had tacked up a photocopy of the Peking University logo from last semester. A silent promise to myself. "I don't know if I can beat them," I said, "but I won't go down quiet, not again." She left without saying anything more. The room was quiet again. But I wasn't. I opened my laptop, created a new folder. Case, Mary George, timeline of events. I pasted screenshots, uploaded voice memos, labeled every recording. Then I clicked post again, this time on my main account. Public. Caption, "Let's see how long lies can last when the truth's louder." No hashtags again. I wasn't chasing clout, I was chasing survival. Before bed, I unfolded my dad's letter one more time. I ran my finger across the words, whispered them like prayer. Let this blood prove that. In the flicker of the hallway light, I looked in the mirror. I didn't look scared anymore. I looked ready. Because good people must also be smart. It started with a note slipped into my locker. No name, no handwriting I recognized, just 2 words scribbled in red pen, meet me. A location followed, old music room, 3rd floor, after school. I didn't need to guess who it was. Mary wanted round 2. I stared at it a long time before folding it into my pocket. I didn't go home that afternoon. Instead, I walked slowly toward the back staircase, the one few students used since the newer building was built. The music room up there hadn't held a single lesson in 2 years, no cameras, no foot traffic. The perfect trap. I pressed record on the mini device in my sock, then another from inside my bag. My phone was already live streaming, private, unlisted, recording straight to a cloud account under a new alias. When I opened the door, she was already there. Mary stood beside the dusty piano, backlit by the golden sun leaking through the cracked blinds. Her arms were folded, lips pursed like she was deciding between rage and performance. You came, she said. I figured you'd make it dramatic. She smirked. You still think you're clever, but no one's going to care how clever you are when you're expelled, doxxed, and dragged back into court. I didn't answer. She stepped forward, voice low, sweet, dangerous. I'll make you a deal. Pay me 1 million yuan, or I'll release footage that shows you grabbing me, forcing me. I'll scream, I'll cry, and they'll all believe me again. You recorded yourself being assaulted? I fabricated it, she said proudly. Deep-faked your voice, spliced old footage, edited it with George. You think people care what's real? And if I don't pay? I'll destroy you. She walked closer, fingers grazing the hem of her blouse. But maybe, there's another way you can pay. You and me, just for a few minutes, no one needs to know. I didn't move. Touch me, she whispered, stepping closer. Just one mistake, and you'll be mine forever. She reached out, and I grabbed her wrist. Stop, I said, this won't work. The door slammed open behind us. George strolled in, holding his phone up like a trophy. Got it all, he grinned. You just assaulted her on camera, tried to force her. Nice knowing you, loser. Mary gasped and flung herself to the floor. He grabbed me. He pushed me. Help! He said he'd hurt me if I didn't. George turned the phone toward me, laughing. This is going viral, right now. He clicked the screen. But nothing uploaded. What the? He tapped again. Froze. Why isn't it? The intercom on the wall crackled to life. Maybe because we blocked the signal 5 minutes ago. The dean's voice. George's face went pale. Footsteps echoed in the hall. The door opened. The dean stepped in, followed by 2 security guards and the homeroom teacher. Behind them, Sarah stood quietly, clutching a tablet. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my recorder, pressed play. Mary's voice spilled out, clear, calm, bragging. I fabricated it. Deepfaked your voice. Sarah stepped forward, playing the synchronized video from her tablet. Same audio, same scene, multiple angles. You thought you were setting the trap, I said. But I laid mine first. Mary scrambled to her feet. He threatened me. This is edited. He made me say that. The dean stepped forward, holding up a 3rd phone. Then how do you explain the footage sent to me 30 minutes ago, recorded directly from this room before either of you got here? George lunged toward me. You bastard! The guards grabbed him instantly, pinning him to the ground. Mary turned to the teacher. Please, I didn't mean it. He forced me to. No, the dean said firmly. You tried to ruin a student's life twice. You created fake evidence. You conspired to extort money. And worst of all, you're proud of it. Sarah handed the footage to the guards. Already uploaded to the school drive, auto-shared to legal. The teacher looked at me. You planned all of this? No, I said. I remembered all of it, from last time. He blinked. Last time? I didn't explain. As they dragged George out screaming, Mary stayed frozen, mouth slightly open. I walked up to her. You used to act like pain was currency, like people would keep paying just to shut you up. She didn't speak. You're bankrupt now. I stepped back and looked at the dean. I'll handle the rest, he said, nodding. Go home, you've done enough for today. I left the room. But I didn't go home. I went to the nearest cafe, connected to Wi-Fi, and opened my alternate account. The full clip was already queued. I posted it on TikTok. Caption: False Victim, True Predator, Part 2. Within minutes, views started ticking, 4,000, 9,000, 16,000. The comment section exploded. She admitted it herself. How many innocent people get ruined like this? Protect David at all costs. George Kim is finished. I watched as the video hit trending, watched as influencers reposted it, watched as the headlines changed from "Top Student Accused Again" to "Brilliant Trap Exposes Elite Family's Lies." For the first time, my side was louder, and this time, the truth didn't hide in the shadows. This time, it burned. The courtroom was packed tighter than a sold-out concert. News cameras were lined up against the wall, lights glowing red. Spectators whispered, typing furiously into phones, mouths half open in disbelief as the footage played, again. On the giant monitor, George's face flickered into view. Clear, undeniable. The dim alley lighting couldn't hide the truth anymore. The video had resurfaced from a discarded dashcam retrieved by Mr. Han's contacts. The angle was perfect, no cuts, no shadows, just raw, brutal truth. George's hands on Mary. Mary crying, pleading. Then the moment where I entered the frame, throwing my backpack at him. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. The prosecution tried to object, claimed the footage was new and unvetted, but the chain of custody was clear, the timestamps precise, the authenticity verified by 2 independent experts. Sarah sat beside the legal team from Peking University, hands folded tightly in her lap. Her testimony had been unwavering. She had brought time-stamped messages, security logs, audio recordings, and first-hand accounts from students, dozens of them. Each piece like a stone rebuilding the grave they dug for me. Mary sat hunched at the defense table, face pale, mascara smudged, eyes darting toward the exits like a trapped animal. George, on the other hand, leaned back in his chair, still dressed in an expensive blazer, smirking like the world owed him a favor. The judge called for silence as the footage ended. Then the dean stepped forward. He carried a small drive in his palm and plugged it into the court's monitor. This was captured from the school's backup server, he said calmly. It was buried under mislabeled footage, but we recovered it. The screen flickered again. It showed the moment in the music room. Mary whispering, "I fabricated it, deepfaked your voice." George sneering, "This is going viral, right now, Atui." And then, me, calm, turning to the camera. "You thought you were setting the trap, but I laid mine first." The courtroom erupted, a wave of murmurs crashed against the walls. The judge banged her gavel. "Order!" The prosecutor sat down slowly, visibly shaken. Their case had unraveled into dust and ash. Mary snapped. "It was supposed to be you!" she screamed, pointing at me, eyes wild. "You were supposed to go down. You were supposed to rot, not me." The guard stepped closer, prepared. "I was the victim. I'm always the victim," she howled. "Do you know what it's like, living in a small town, being nothing? Do you know what I gave up?" David stood slowly, calmly. "You gave up the truth," I said, "for attention, for power, for him." She turned to George, desperate. Tell them you made me do it. Say something, please." George didn't move. His father, who had sat silent in the back of the courtroom, finally stood. George's smirk vanished. Mr. Kim's voice was stone. "You are no longer my son." Silence cut through the courtroom like a blade. "You will not return to my house. You will not touch the company. You will face this like a man, not as an heir, but as a criminal." George stood, stunned. "Dad, wait." But Mr. Kim was already walking away. The reporters followed him, shouting questions. George stood frozen as the bailiffs closed in. Mary was already sobbing uncontrollably, yelling incoherent curses at everyone, at me, at the court, at the dean, at Sarah. "Why him? Why does he get to be the hero?" she shrieked. "He's poor, he's trash, he sells sausages." I didn't flinch. "I'm the son of a man who died for the truth," I said, "and this time, I don't forgive." The court moved fast. Mary was sentenced for false accusation, perjury, and attempted extortion. George was sentenced for rape and manipulation of legal evidence. The crowd outside the courthouse exploded in cheers as the verdicts were read. Hashtags trended worldwide. Justice for David, hash the lies, broke first, hashtag from predator to prisoner, hash smart, and good, peaking. University sent a public letter of apology, reinstating my admission with full scholarship and honoring my father posthumously. When I returned to campus the following week, classmates clapped as I walked through the gates. Some apologized, others just nodded respectfully, but I didn't return for the applause. I returned because I had work to do. On the day of my reinstatement, I visited my father's grave. I placed the folded blood-stained letter on the stone, pressed my palm against the cold marble. "They know now," I whispered. "They finally know." The sun broke through the clouds just as I turned to leave. Sarah was waiting near the edge of the cemetery. "You ready for what's next?" she asked. "Always." She handed me a brown envelope. "News stations want to interview you. Legal groups are calling. You've become something more than a case." "I don't want fame." "You want justice," she said, "and you already got it, but people out there still think kindness is weakness." I looked up. "No, kindness is strength, but only if you're smart with it." We walked away from the grave together. Behind me, the letter fluttered slightly in the breeze, and this time, the wind was finally on my side. 3 months after the trial, I stood outside my father's favorite flower shop, a single bundle of white lilies in my hand. The city had moved on, but the scars on its glass windows and digital feeds still bore our names. Mary was sentenced to 9 years for false accusation, perjury, and attempted extortion. The court added an extra year after discovering she'd tried to pay a classmate to delete evidence. She screamed all the way to the van that day, her parents sobbing behind her, begging for leniency that never came. George? 12 years, no parole. The final charge, rape, stuck harder than anyone thought it would. The footage, the threats, and the testimonies buried whatever his father's lawyers tried to spin. His last public words before being shoved into the armored police vehicle were, "I'll get out, my name's Kim." But that name meant nothing now. The Kim Group collapsed within weeks. Stocks plummeted by 70% overnight after the public boycott began. Clients pulled out, influencers denounced their partnerships, hashtags didn't just trend, they lived. Clown Air, hashtag criminal Kim Group, hashtag heir to nothing. Every news outlet ran the story, from empire to ashes, how one student took down an elite family with just truth. Angry netizens swarmed George and Mary's family homes. Someone posted footage of a dozen protesters throwing rotten eggs and red paint at the Kim Villa gate. One of Mary's old teachers live-streamed herself burning an award Mary had received years ago. A liar doesn't deserve a medal for tears. Mary's parents found me one afternoon. They waited outside the university gate, their eyes sunken, clutching envelopes of money and official apology letters. Her mother fell to her knees. "She's still our daughter," she sobbed. "She made mistakes, but she's not evil. She was scared. She was manipulated." "She manipulated everyone," I said calmly, "including you." Her father stepped forward, voice trembling. "Please, help us reduce her sentence. You've already won." "I didn't win," I said. "She lost. I just survived." I turned away as her mother wailed into her husband's chest. That same evening, I received a call from the Justice Bureau. "Mr. Han requested a state honor to be posthumously awarded to your father," the voice said. I didn't speak, just listened. "He will be recognized for his moral integrity, his defense of justice, and his contribution to the exposure of systemic failure. There will be a ceremony. The Minister of Education will attend. We would be honored if you'd accept on his behalf." "I will," I said. The ceremony was small but dignified. His name engraved into a wall of heroes, just beneath a plaque that read, "Those who bled for truth never bleed in vain." I held his portrait in my hands as the applause echoed. He was smiling in the photo, a little blurry, taken outside the sausage stall the year I topped the mock exams. I whispered to the frame, "I did it, Dad." Fall semester arrived. I stepped onto Peking University's campus wearing a new uniform, my name tag pinned clean across my chest. People stared, whispered, some pointed. I didn't mind. My story wasn't a myth anymore, it was a case study in half their ethics classes. In the dorms, they called me the boy who beat the system. On social media, I was #David the Phoenix. But I didn't want to be a symbol, I just wanted to breathe again. Sarah met me outside the lecture hall on the second day. She carried her laptop, a coffee, and a folder. "There's a girl from another city," she said. "Same situation. She's being framed. Netizens think she's lying." "What's the evidence?" She handed me the file. "It's shaky, but I think we can help." "I'm not a lawyer." "No," she said, "but you're proof that justice doesn't always need a badge." I nodded, took the Yanhua file. "Let's gather facts," I said, "and back up everything." She smiled. "You haven't changed." "I've changed," I said, "now I record everything." We worked late into the night, eating instant noodles while cross-referencing timestamps and tracing digital footprints. The case wasn't identical, but the smell of it, the fear, the twist, the shame, was all too familiar. I didn't trust easy anymore, I didn't forgive easily either. But I believed in truth. That weekend, I visited my father's grave again. The white lilies had dried, I replaced them. A group of students from my old school had visited before me, they left behind thank you notes. One said, "You gave us the courage to speak up," another simply read, "I believe you now." I sat beside the stone and read aloud the headlines from the week. George's cousin got arrested too, they were laundering money through their student council. Figures. I smiled faintly. Mary's appeal was denied, her new lawyer tried to claim mental illness. The judge laughed. The wind was soft that morning, I could almost feel his hand on my shoulder again. "There's a lot of darkness out there," I whispered, "but I'm not afraid anymore, because now, I know how to fight." I stood, brushing the dust from my pants. "I'm going to help others now, Dad, just like you always did, but I'll do it smart." I tapped the recorder in my pocket, still running, still ready. From now on, I won't just help people, I'll protect myself while doing it, and I'll never let anyone rewrite my truth again. Because this time, I lived, and this time, I remember, and this time, I won.